Who's coming downstairs?
And it is live. Testing. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Perfect, which is a good sign. Testing. Yeah, because sometimes with the huge amount of workload, the stream can be a little bit tricky.
Oh. Oh, yeah, on your computer. Right. Yeah, do you have a desktop or a laptop?
Desktop.
Oh, okay.
But it's very weird. But the stream OBS, basically the stream engine the application I'm using, they cannot handle with a lot of workload because I don't pay the subscription. It's just free.
Oh, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, I've used them a few times just for recording video, never for live stream.
Yeah. Okay, I think we should be good now.
So you're recording audio through Facebook and you're recording video through Streamlabs. That's how you're doing it?
So I'm recording my audio. So they have something called like the back channel. It's called like the black hole because I'm using Mac. So basically, the black hole is like an application that will capture my the audio from the messenger.
Oh, yeah.
So everything from the messenger will go to the stream instead of my audio only.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, using Mac is a little bit different with the streaming application.
Should I go on YouTube too? Let's see. Is there a delay on the stream for YouTube?
Yeah, usually there will be. It's impossible to do like instant stream, so there will be like a little bit of delay. Usually like about, I would say about 5 to 7 seconds. No, 3 to 5 seconds,
Well, that's not
depending.
bad.
Yeah, depending on network. I was talking to Tong earlier that we should have some kind of mini game for the audience to have a list of questions for you, and if they have questions, then they may win a copy of the game.
Oh, cool.
But we forgot about that. That's fine.
Oops.
Next
You can
time.
do it later. Yeah.
We can always do it later. Oui. Okay. I believe Mong is also busy, but I hope so you can get ready for us too. Let me know whenever you are ready so that we can kick off with the talk show.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready anytime.
Okay, let's give it like 3 more minutes. Man, I'm so excited for the Gen Con.
Have you been before?
Yeah, I've been there 3 times already.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but it's always like the fresh experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I came there, it's always something different.
Yeah. It's so big. So many people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The one that scared me the most was the one right after the COVID, because people were expecting like a lot of things going on, and the publishers, they couldn't have, how do you say that? They couldn't play test a lot of games during the COVID.
Oh yeah.
So during that time, it was just tons of expansions and mini games. And I think like recently, Gen Con decided to, like, people don't do a lot of hard release on Gen Con anymore.
Yeah.
They try to mimic it, like minimize the amount of games they release during Gen Con.
I know there's a bunch releasing this Gen Con. A bunch of publishers have new titles coming out.
Yeah. But this is still a good opportunity for people, for like small indie developers to get support in Gen Con, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very hard to get a table there. So most of the smaller ones go to like Origins.
Yeah.
But this year Origins filled, I think it filled up. That was the first.
Origins happened first, but yeah, I think it's easier to be in Origin compared to Gen Con.
Yeah. And if you're a part of Gamma,
Yeah.
and you get free tickets. So that's nice.
Oh, really? Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that.
Yes, you pay, I think, $200 US a year for Gamma membership, and you can go to Gamma and Origins. That includes the entry fee.
Oh, is that the reason why you keep going to those?
That's no. Gamma is very good for industry. I recommend it. Yeah, it's probably the best one. It doesn't have too many consumer facing. It's just retail stores and publishers and media, things like that. So it's not too busy. You can actually talk to people and have time, whereas Gen Con is very crowded. So it's very hard to walk up to a booth and actually have a conversation with somebody.
True that. Yeah, I think Gen Con is more like about playing game, while like Gamma is all about making connections.
Yeah, exactly. Origins is in the middle somewhere. It's a little bit of both.
True that. One day I will go to Essenspiel. One day.
One day. I'm thinking about it this year, but probably not.
Maybe next year we can go together.
Yeah, that'd be good. Next year, I definitely want to go.
Okay.
Almost. Yeah, for sure. This year's maybe. This year's like a 20% chance.
Okay, are you ready for OnStage?
Yeah. Is anyone joined?
Yeah. We can start first. So let's talk about OnStage. Oh, I think I lost your collab cam. Let me.
Oh, you can't see me?
Okay, it's back now.
Good.
Yeah, there was some problem with the signal, but that's fine. We're back now.
Okay.
People were asking how was your trip at the Origins?
Oh, the trip was good. Just 2 days. So I arrived Saturday morning and spent all day Saturday and Sunday there, and then left Monday.
I see. What game are you anticipate the most after getting back from Origins?
Oh,
Hard question, right?
yeah, that's a hard question.
Oops, sorry.
There was a lot of games at Origins that weren't released yet, but they're coming out at Gen Con. I thought CGE's SETI looks really cool. I tend to like heavier games, so I like CGE's games.
Which one?
If you've seen SETI, SETI. It's about space and like exploring the probe, the SETI probe that goes out into the universe and explores the.
Oh, is that the one that made by the CGE people, like with the big, with like the satellite? This very huge. Oh, I didn't know you are into like the heavy Euro games like that.
Yeah, I definitely prefer to play those. I don't prefer to make those, but I prefer to play those. I'm a big fan of CGE. Their production is amazing. So they had the full finished version there. You could play for one round, and yeah, it's very good.
Okay. I should try that one at Gen Con then. 'Cause that is another thing like on my playlist too. Like that one, really really good. From what I see people talking about and all about like the hype behind it too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of their studio now because after they got all the success from Codenames,
Oh,
they have their own factory now. They have their own new building for their studio. So they're a very large company now.
did you? Quick question. Did you like Arnak?
Arnak? Yeah, I do like Arnak. But the
And
extension is really cool too.
I see. So the question I always ask people who have played Arnak
Yeah.
is which one do you prefer, Arnak or Dune Imperium?
Uh, Dune Imperium. Yeah, Dune Imperium.
Oh man, come on, man.
Because it's more interactive. I can like we can really play with each other instead of kind of side by side.
Fair.
Yeah.
For me, if I play with two people, I'll pick Arnak. But
Oh,
if I
that's
play
better.
with,
Two people.
yeah,
Yeah.
but if I have like three or more, four, I will play Dune Imperium.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I prefer Arnak with two. With three, it's a little slow for me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I haven't tried the new expansion yet.
Oh,
I saw that was there with the two new characters. I don't know about that one.
are you talking about Missing Expedition expansion from Arnak?
Yeah, that's supposed to be very good, but I haven't tried it yet.
To be honest, that's how you should do cooperative game for card game.
Oh, it's co-op?
Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Okay, yeah, I want to try it now.
yeah. The expansion is amazing. Like in a way that I think you should try it. Like it is totally different game for me because maybe my expectation was too low. It could be, but when I bought the expansion and played the expansion, I thought that it's gonna be it's just like more cards. That's it, and the campaign. But
Yeah.
it is something different. The way they do the cooperation in that game is way better.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, my daughter's 8 now, so I think co-op games will be a good experience. I can start introducing her to complicated games now.
awesome. That'll be exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, but now let's talk about on stage. So for on stage, one thing that people are curious the most is the theme of the on stage. For you, did you make like when we talk about board games, right? People they will make the games first, like the mechanics first, and then the theme later. Or some people they go from the themes and then go to the mechanic. For on stage, which way that you do it?
This game had a long development process. So it started off with the mechanic, but
Oh,
I tend to do both. So whereas the theme influences the mechanic. So my original concept was very abstract. It was like when you win the trick, instead of winning a hand of cards, you win limited tokens. So it was just one, two, and three pip token. It was very, very basic looking. And the theme that I eventually went into was like a candy shop theme. So it was like kids fighting over a limited pool of candy. So it was all just quick drew, some art for a prototype. And it was fun. But when I brought it to Vietnam and played with everybody, Juan was mentioning that more serious themes would make more sense. So it really made me think about like changing a little bit. And then the process of thinking about changing the theme influenced the mechanic, and it kind of just creates like an echo chamber. So as you shift the theme, you get new ideas for the mechanic that matches that theme, which influences the theme again, and it just keeps feeding off of each other as you iterate on the prototype. So the next version was kind of like a theater-ish, but it was more like Candy Kingdom theater, like it was medieval style. So I was still stuck to this candy theme for a little while. And eventually, I just got rid of that, and then the idea for it being a performance just clicked to me. I think 8 months ago. I said, "Oh,
oh,
this would really match well with the mechanics, because it's like you're taking something from somewhere and you're taking things from other people, and so the game changed a lot since then. And I think the theme needs to support the mechanics to make the mechanics easier to learn, understand, and grasp. So I was really trying to land on that really well. And then I think I saw some masks. Oh, when our last trip in Vietnam, we were in Hoi An, and we went to a mask making workshop for our daughter. So she painted her own mask, and it was this really cool guy. He makes his own masks. There's a big wall of them, and I think I showed Tuan a picture of that, and he said, "Oh, he got really excited because he's been wanting to make a game around masks." And then he told me a little bit about Hát Bội and how the theater production, and I was like, "Oh, it kind of clicked to me that this would be a really great theme. It would work perfectly with the actual mechanics of the game." And then the game kept changing because of that, and we played it where it was very different. I think you played a version with us where we didn't have the line of actors at all.
Yeah.
And then actually that breakthrough kind of changed the game, I think, much more positively. And now it really feels like you're in a production and you're actually wanting to get these actors come to your troupe. So it was a long process of a lot of feedback, I think. But I don't think that's very traditional. Usually I go theme first, honestly. Lean very much into theme.
I see. So basically mechanic first and keep how can you say that? Lots of looping and iterations to change the mechanic, and then at one point reach to the point that you really like and enjoy the theme and mechanic integration together.
Yeah, exactly.
How many versions that you make total? Do you remember?
Let's do a quick count. Maybe six versions, 7 versions.
Oh, 7. That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of versions that I've actually printed out and showed people.
So I assume when you talk about the print out version, like those are like the big change, right? Like the major change that can impact the whole gameplay.
Yeah. So you kind of run through your head and, okay, I think this will work. Let's try it. So you print it out and play a quick hand or two by yourself, and it makes sense, and test it with someone that is okay with the game being bad. And then if they think it works, then you bring it to your playtest group or your friends, and the loop continues.
I see. It's a very long process.
Yeah, some games take. I met somebody at Origins. He said he was working on his game for 8 years.
Well, our perspective, it's not all about the time that you develop the game. It's about how much quality that you put into that time.
Yeah, that's true. You're not working on it constantly for 8 years. You work on it, and then if you get stuck, you put it to the side and do other things.
Exactly. Then another question is, how did you react to the games when it failed your expectation? Like you print out the game 7 times, right? Which means that 6 times it failed your expectation, which means that 6 times when you do the play testing, it didn't meet your expectation. How did you feel at that moment?
Yeah, I think that's a part of the process. So it's essentially it's basically like it's failing, right? So you have to be okay with your idea failing. It's not achieving what you're envisioning it to achieve, or maybe it is. Maybe you're seeing something you're very happy with it, which happened to me, I think, on the 5th iteration. I was like, okay, this game feels done. I feel like it's very good. And then we changed the theme, and I realized it wasn't done because the theme wasn't super fluid with the actual game, and then it kept evolving. So I think you have to not fall in love with your things that you're making, and you don't take it personally, especially when you get bad feedback. I feel like that's very helpful. So I recommend taking all feedback without any ego and using it as an opportunity to grow and make your product better. Because essentially you're making a product, and the goal of the product is to help people have fun around the table and interact with each other. An extra goal that we're trying for is to expose the culture and kind of educate around that too. So we really want to make a good of game as possible, so that I think it would be good exposure overseas as well. So
I see.
yeah, so I think that's the underlying theme and goal of what we're trying to do, is make games that elevate some sort of cultural theme that is not getting enough attention from our perspective.
Got it.
And yeah, so two things that, if you let me talk, I'll just keep talking.
No worry. To be honest, I didn't know much about the theater team, especially a theater performance like this, until I got dragged into playtesting your game. That's when I started doing research. Oh, what is this about and things like that. So it works, in my opinion.
Yeah, I see it happening with so many other publishers. They're basically pointing out their cultures, like especially South America, Central America, Mexico, all these, like, there's not too many games coming from that region. There's designers in Brazil, but they always use these themes like Zolkin and Teotihuacan. There's a lot of themes around, like Trio is the one that just changed Nana to. So you see this happening. So I saw it as a really good opportunity to, like, why, like, especially in Southeast Asia, it's not getting enough attention. You see a lot of Japanese games, a lot of Chinese games, Korean games. Like, let's make more games of Vietnam.
That's really nice. Yeah, I agree. Especially with a country of 4,000 years of history like Vietnam, there's a lot of materials to utilize.
Yeah, I agree. And in the US, I mean, you live in the US too. I feel like when we were raising our daughter, we were trying to expose her to as much culture as possible. And we found it challenging here, honestly. So that was another motivation, is how can we create something that would expose more kids to these things and give parents the opportunity to, like, have these discussions. So it's helpful.
That's true. One thing that, from my perspective as a board game player and also a reviewer, that's every time I review a board game, I would love to learn about the theme behind the board game, so that I can see how thematic the game is.
Yeah, I agree with you. For me, that's very important. And whenever I ask, so when I go to these conventions and people are giving me their pitches, I say more than half the time they lead their pitch with like the mechanics and how the game works. When I have to stop them halfway and say, but I want to know the backstory, like why am I playing this game? What's the meaning? Like what's actually happening here? And then they're like, oh, and they get really excited about it, because, like, I don't think that they're not used to it. For some reason, I think hardcore gamers just want to know the mechanics, and is this game going to be crunchy or? But that's only a small percentage of the population. I think most people would rather just play a fun game, especially families and the greater non-gaming audience.
I see, that's true. Yeah, I think the still major population still prefer the game with, like, high entertainment, with a lot of climax and things like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, for the next question is, what is the hardest thing and also the easiest thing that you encounter during the development of OnStage?
The hardest thing and easiest thing. I think for me, trick taking was something I've never been good at. So I would basically always lose trick taking games. So for me, the hardest thing was trying to make a trick taking game that I enjoyed losing at. There's a little bit of randomness and chaos. For me, it makes it fun. Whereas a lot of these other trick taking games are near perfect, so I would lose 100% of the time. So there was a game group that I played with that was very good at trick taking. That's what inspired me to kind of start making a trick taking game in the beginning. I think that was the hardest thing for me, making that hard. And then development wise, I think coming up with a solution for the stage, because I really wanted to do, I thought a stage would be super cool for this game. So I was just using a piece of cardboard to kind of show the tropes. And then when Chuan came up with a really innovative way to use the insert as a stage, I thought that was like a big breakthrough for the production and the development of the game. Easiest thing. I think once we landed on the theme of theater, the easiest thing was leaning into that, because then it just made perfect sense, and the game really kind of opened up and unfolded from there. We would have never came up with the idea for a line without that, I think. And I think the line is really a really clever way that you can kind of plan ahead and actually strategize, because it's a very tactical game. But that leads, the opportunity to be strategic is there if you want to actually run the match. But I'm not personally I'm more of an instinct player. I just want to play the game and not think too hard. But when I was demoing it at Origins, there were a couple people that were really mapping it out. And I was like, okay, it's working. This is good. And they really, really loved it. And I was just like playing cards and having fun.
Yeah, I think I remember we were talking about it during one of our playtest sessions, that I want something with a track with progress, with something that they can manipulate the progress.
Yeah.
And the idea of coming up with a line, as you can, I don't know if you can see, but the audience can see on the screen right now. What you guys are seeing is basically the line of meeples or the line of performance, and they are lining up to be their turn to be on stage. So what Michael was talking about with tactical decisions is you have to manipulate the position of those performers so that you can kick them off the stage, or you can bring them on the stage, so that sometimes when you win the trick, you can earn the most points possible, or you can make the opponent, when they win the trick, they will not get any points at all, which is a thing that's very clever in my opinion, very unique, very original. But yeah, I'm surprised that the hardest part for you was making a trick-taking game when you're not good at trick-taking games.
Yeah.
Because usually when I heard our developers talking about making games, usually, maybe most of the time, they make the game that they're good at. For instance, like worker placement or contracts or conflict resolution with card game.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I tried to work my hand at worker placement. I think I'll wait on that a little bit longer. I have some ideas in the works, but it's much harder to do, I feel like.
Yeah, I think worker placement is still one of my top 5 mechanism in board games, but it is the dangerous move, a risky move in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if you do it the wrong way, it can feel very duplicated. But if you do it the right way, be very unique.
Yeah. There's opportunity for worker placement expansion for this game, maybe, because there's actual meeples in the game. So that would be interesting to explore.
Oh, are we talking about expansions?
Oh yeah, just ideas, but nothing solid.
Hey, everything comes from the idea first. So
Yeah,
I would love to know worker placement and trick-taking together. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, the only one I've seen trick taking and area control. I haven't seen worker placement. Is it?
Yeah.
There's a
Oh,
Duraku is area control trick taking.
anyways, the next thing is about, we talk a lot about the development of the game. We talk a lot about on stage. So let's talk about the next important thing with the game, audience. What is the hardest thing, from your opinion? Do you think, what is the hardest thing for the audience to learn on stage?
Probably the if you're not familiar with trick taking as a mechanic, I think that would be the biggest barrier. Because in the US, at least, like games like spades and hearts are just a part of the culture. So everyone is very familiar with that style, and especially in Europe as well. So what I've observed, at least, is a lot of Southeast Asia is more ladder climbing, less trick taking.
That's true.
So just discarding cards instead of trying to follow the suit. But one of the design challenges for me was to make teaching trick taking easier, more intuitive. So less focused on the cards and more focused on like the actual people on the stage. So we're just trying to follow each other. So we've really observed that teaching this game with that theme together has made it much easier to grasp. I think that new kind of way of thinking. So once you unlock that, then it's very easy, I feel like. And then hopefully people will explore more trick taking. There's like a whole genre that we're hoping that, we can expose more people to.
I see. Then, when you say that it's hard, the hardest thing for people to learn from the game is trick taking, then do you think that when they play the first few games, should they get rid of the power from those cards 1, 4, and 7, or should they still play with the power from those cards?
Yeah, keep the powers. It makes it kind of chaotic and fun in the beginning, because if you don't fully grasp the game, it's just a little bit of chaos, which I think makes it fun. And then you'll learn, and then you'll have a chance to win too, because it won't be perfect information. After 1 or 2 hands, everyone picks it up very quickly. But the whole idea of I have to lead with one color and then everyone has to follow, I think just takes 1 or 2 hands for people to really grasp if you've never played it. But when I teach it to people that play trick-taking games, they get it right away and they get very into it and get very tactical after the first hand.
I see. So from your playtesting experience and all from your playtesting sessions, have you ever playtest with a group of people that have never played trick-taking before?
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say most of the people in local Vietnamese people haven't played it. The ones who are expats in our playtest group, some have played it. So I'd say 80% of the people in the playtest group have not played trick-taking.
Oh wow, that's a very big number, more than I expected.
Yeah. So that was very good for us, I think, to test the game, because then I can also play it virtually with people in the US, and I can share print and play with my friends and my old game groups, and then they could also try that. So I had a good balance of both sides, I think.
Got it. Then, from your experience, do you think how many games that the players need to play to fully understand the game from the mechanic wise and trick taking, and they can start planning out tactically their turns? One game? Or one round?
One round. One full round.
Okay.
Yeah. It all clicks after one round. It's not too complicated.
I see. So it is pretty accessible as a game.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you can access it, you can learn it within like a few rounds, and you can start learning the game. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And if it was new, trick taking was new to somebody, we would try not to even mention trick. We wouldn't say the word tricks or anything like that. We would just teach the game naturally, and then afterwards say that this is what a trick is, so that going forward, if they want to play other games, they'll understand.
That's smart. Basically,
I learned that from Eric Lang. He taught a game to me. I got to play a game with him at Gamma. And now that he's making games for Hasbro, he had to relearn how he kind of teaches to be more accessible, because he's teaching games to people that don't play games. So he just like taught the game to us, but the bare minimum rules we needed to know and to start. And then as we played, he just explained the rest. I thought that was very insightful, and that's kind of changed the way of how I teach games going forward now.
I see. Well, Eric Lang, if you don't know, he's our designer that make because in Vietnam a lot of people like Blood Rage.
Oh, yeah.
So just want to remind people. And on a side note, I think Eric Lang is a very interesting guy. He made lots of games with different audience, surprisingly.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, back to OnStage. So the next question is, this might be a little bit tricky questions, but what is your expectation from the audience when they play on stage? Like, do you think that you want a game to be, can it go to like a tool for people to compete with each other, or do you want to spread out the awareness of the theater performance, or what do you expect from the audience? Like, how do you expect the audience will react to this game?
Yeah, I think both of the things you mentioned were important. The game needs to be fun first, or the actual theme won't spread. So the goal is to make just a really interesting, fun card game experience for people who aren't used to playing trick taking, because it's such a cool mechanic that has been around for so long, like a couple hundred years.
That's
And
true.
trying to expose that to a new audience is really what I'm hoping to do. And then it creates a really fun table experience. So I don't think we'll get to the level of like Hearts or anything like that, but like, Hearts has this really deep rooted family experience, especially in the US and the southern parts of the US. So families are always playing these games and having a good time, and having a drink or just like connecting with old relatives. That's the goal, I think, with all gaming, is we're just trying to create an excuse to get around the table and have fun with each other and meet new people, make new friends. And if you can learn a little bit of something about something as well, I think that's a plus. I mean, you can have games that are just meaningless fun. That's fine too. But if you have the after effect of like, oh, this is really interesting. These masks are really interesting. This art's really interesting. I'm curious to learn more. So that's the goal, really, just get people curious. And then maybe they'll, double click on something and want to go see a performance, and then help support the local actors, or maybe international audience will get attention and want to come visit Vietnam more. Like, who knows what the after effects, once you release something out into the world, you just have no idea what's going to happen. You just have to hope for the best and see how it goes.
I see. That's cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I think like with when I talk with a lot of designers, everyone seems like have different expectation from their game with the audience. So I'm really glad to hear your opinion too.
Yeah.
So the next few questions is gonna be about publishers publishing the game, because in Vietnam, publishing the game is still a very new concept. A lot of people they do self-publishing, like they make the games and they're gonna try to self-publishers. So from your experience working with Ngũ Hành Games, what do you expect? Like if you have any advice for other people, like for other designers, like how to pitch the game, how to work with the publishers, and what are expectations?
So there's a couple of questions there. I think pitching is an entirely different thing. So
Okay.
there's a lot of resources available online, because designing games is such a low barrier to entry. You just need an idea, paper and pencil, and you can start working on a game. So I think the biggest barrier to making the game is just actually do it, and then sit down and actually make something. I think that's my observation, is everyone has ideas, but not too many people want to actually put the work in. Just write it down and try it out, or they're afraid to show it to somebody. So I think getting over that hump of fear, where you're willing to actually show the game to somebody, is very important. So just practice doing that, and then when you're ready, when you think you have something, an idea that's interesting, I think bring it to other people and get their opinions. And then usually publishers are at these sort of events where you're at playtesting events, and then they'll give you feedback. You're not necessarily pitching to the publisher, but they're there, they're getting exposed to your team, and if they're interested, they'll show interest and they'll want to help you develop the game. So if I saw something that someone was making, and I would want to help them make that, and then maybe I may or may not help them publish it at some point, but I'll still help them, and then point them in the right direction. So give introductions to other publishers that I think would be a good fit. So you have to really match up the games to the publishers. So I think like a really silly game about candy wouldn't have made any sense for Nuan, right? It wouldn't match their goals and their company's overarching theme with cultural games. So moving in that direction made a lot of sense, and then we kind of aligned on our like deeper long-term goals of like promoting culture. So it was the perfect fit, really, to work with them. What were the other aspects of the question? You asked a few things.
Yeah, so another aspect of the question is like when people talk about, because like there's not a lot of chance or opportunity in Vietnam to make games with publisher, right? So a lot of times people are afraid that when they put the game to the publisher gonna change the game completely. Was it the case for you with one game, or did it let you have a lot of freedom to develop on your own games? What was that
Yeah,
experience like?
I see. Yeah, I think that can happen a lot. For us, we work pretty collaboratively on everything. So they let me take the lead on the design and then giving feedback throughout the development process and then making changes. So for me, the main goal was making this fun for the right and like the right audience locally. And then potentially what other publishers will do is let's say if a European publisher wanted to publish this game, they might change some things. They might change the game ever so slightly to better suit that audience. I don't know what else they would change, but I think Nana the Trio is a good example. Like Nana was very popular in Asia. They changed it to Trio. They added more players for I think up to 5 now, right? Into Europe. So something like that could easily happen where they want to change the game to 2 to 6 instead of 3 to 5, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to be open to these things and trust that the publisher is going to make the right decision. But in Vietnam, there's not as many publishers because the market's still very small and young and growing. I think over the next few years, more and more games will get released and hopefully they'll be successful, which will fund more publishers and more interest in the whole industry. I think in Vietnam and to Southeast Asia in general. You go to these conventions now and you see a lot of new faces, a lot of new publishers appearing, and then crowdfunding is becoming more accessible. I think crowdfunding is the reason for the boom outside of Asia for sure, because it's 13, 12 years ago, right? Appeared and all these games came out of nowhere. And now it's just the standard, like you just launch your company with Kickstarter. So it seems much easier and then a bigger publisher will pick it up. But honestly, the standard of game is much higher now. So it's very, very hard to compete because everyone's making games, everyone's releasing interesting, unique ideas, some with finished art, some with fully developed. So when I talk to other publishers, especially the larger ones in the US, they say that it's never been harder to actually get a game signed now. So you can release it yourself and it'll do fine. But actually working with a publisher will help bring your game to a next level. So it's 2 different choices, I think, how you want to approach it. But my suggestion is if you're interested in this, just do it. Just start making something. Even if you do a small print run, that's fine. Just start making it and then you'll get better. And then in a few years, you'll be even better. So it's just like, think about the journey, not the goal, is my suggestion.
That's a very nice one. Thinking about the journey, not the goal. Yeah. It aligns with my goal too. Like basically thinking about the progression, not about the end result.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes to all kinds of other deeper meanings. But if we want to turn this into a philosophy podcast, I'm okay with that. Yeah,
yeah, we'll save it for another day when we can do the philosophy about board games.
Yeah.
So very final few questions here. So one thing is, what is your advice for other designers who are looking to have their game published, or at least to have their game published with publisher, especially in Vietnam? What is your advice for them when you're coming from a country with a background board games at the United States?
Playtest a lot. That's my number one thing. I think the natural instinct is to think your game's finished and to want to just get it out there right away. But playtest with a different group. When you think your game's done, try it with a different audience and get their opinion, and keep doing that over and over. Like with OnStage, I thought it was done, so I fell in that trap as well, but it wasn't done. So we, keep playtesting until it's really, really great, and then move forward with it. Because if you're going to put this much work into something, you want it to be the best it can possibly be, so that it has success. Not just within your local community, but other people can experience it as well. So even if your game isn't that great, that's fine. I released a game a long time ago, like 7, 8 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, and it did okay. I think they sold like 1,000 copies or so. And but in my perspective, it wasn't a success. But I did it, and I got that experience, and it was that part was very valuable for me. So just go to playtest events, find local friends, find local meetups. If one doesn't exist, then make one. Just open up a Facebook group and start a playtest group in your wherever you are, and you'll find other people that are very happy to try your games. At cafes. Don't be shy. Just go say hello and invite them to play your game with you. You'll make new friends. Yeah, I think it'll grow as everyone does that. It'll just keep growing. As an example, the playtest group in the Bay Area that I went to had over 2,000 members, and every meetup I would go to, there would be at least 50 to 60 people all playtesting and bringing games. So
Wow.
what happens when the community is like that large? So then good games get created because you're all helping each other. You're all getting ideas. It starts off as a simple idea written on paper, and then someone will help you. So that's I think a really nice thing about this industry is it's not profit driven. It's more like passion driven. So when you're in a passion driven industry, you'll find everyone's much more helpful and much more kind. There's still a few haters out there that you just have to ignore. But you just keep. I'd say most people are very, very helpful and very positive, especially the larger publishers in this industry. Like a large publisher is someone that has 50 to 60 employees. But compared to like software or like, the bigger industries of the world where they have thousands of employees, you have a 0% chance to talk to the owner. But
That's true.
in board gaming, you can just reach out to somebody on Facebook and they'll have a chat with you. So it's a totally different world to just, I think, dive into. It's been really, really fun for me.
Yeah, I agree. With board game industry, it should be passion driven. Okay, it's all about the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the same way I do with Donut&Dragons too. All passion driven. Just so you know, I think like 7 years ago, Michael did also make a game with a publisher called Breaking Games, right? And the game is called Aura. So OnStage is not the first game that Michael made, just to clarify.
Yeah, that's right.
And okay, then the last question is the hardest thing that a lot of designers facing when playtesting is feedback. We talked about earlier, like we have to take all the feedback with and ignore your ego. Is there any other advice that you would give out to designers when you do playtesting?
Yeah, take notes.
No.
Write down. Write down what people are saying because it's easy to forget. So I would do that on my phone. I would just quickly write down a few notes. You won't use most feedback. Most feedback is just not helpful. But don't let people know that because you want all feedback. You don't know which one's going to be actually helpful.
I
But the
see.
things that I really recommend is observing people's body expressions and how they're reacting to your game. That's the most valuable thing from my perspective is because you're not hiding that. Sometimes people will be too nice and they don't want to give bad feedback, or sometimes they're too mean and they'll give not helpful feedback. They'll just say, this isn't fun, and then they can't explain why. So that's not useful. But if you see them struggling during this particular moment or not understanding something, you'll see in their face, you'll see how they're playing. If they're disengaged at a moment or if they're on their phones, something's wrong, right? Your game's not working. So you can explore that. You're like, oh, I noticed during this moment, you seem confused. Can you explain why? So asking very specific things to specific moments during the playtest. So take notes during the playtest and then hone in on those things and you'll get much more helpful feedback versus just like, oh, I loved it. I love this part. You won't find the cracks unless you actually really pay attention.
I see.
There's a lot of resources online that kind of dig into this also, but I think practicing playtesting and not being in the game yourself is really important. So if I'm playing a game that I'm playtesting other people, I really struggle to pay attention. But if I'm just observing as a third party, I can really actually get a lot more valuable insights from that.
That's true. Yeah, I think the reaction and the expression when you play the game is genuine. Like you cannot fake it. You cannot manipulate it. It just comes directly from your experience with the game. So observing those moments are very crucial. Yeah, you're right. I agree.
If you have an opportunity to playtest a game with kids, I would recommend that too, because kids are very honest.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
I only have that experience because I'm doing the workshops for fourth and fifth graders, and then my daughter's in grade 2. So, but fourth and fifth graders, brutally honest. It's really funny.
Wait, which game are we talking about? Like the very complicated games or very high accessible game? Or in general?
You have to approach the audience with what they can handle. So fourth and fifth grader, I think they can handle a lot, actually. They're really smart. These younger kids are really smart now.
That's true.
They have access to the internet and AI now, so they can learn really fast.
That's true. Well, thank you, Michael. That's all the questions I have for you on the talk show today. I'm very, personally, I'm very excited to on stage. Like this is something new, something unique with theater performance and at the same time with trick-taking games. So I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, me too. It's been really fun working with you, and we really appreciate your feedback during the whole process. Chatting with you is a real pleasure. Happy to do it anytime.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope that I will have a copy of OnStage so that I can feature it on my channel as well. I really want to bring this out to the audience as well as to bring it to my community in my city.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get you one.
Sounds good. Thank you. I hope I will get your signature on it too. Can I?
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, and I will make you to draw a cat for Donut too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do my best.
Sounds good. But cool. That's it for today. Thank you for your time.
Great. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye-bye.